Let me give you a hopium chart. I just need to share a.
You'll need an Ethereum chart.
It's an Ethopium chart. That's ETH
that's a
versus ETH last year. I can't find a closer fit. I can't. That's crazy. The other thing about the ETH Bitcoin cross is it's actually driven by the ISM and the business cycle. So you're kind of all in that point on a weekly, for those who like technicals, on a weekly DMARC count. ETH just put in a 13 low as well. It feels that everything is in place, but that chart is quite remarkable. Now, we know that these charts fall apart just when you want them the most to work. So expect it to not work, but it's just interesting contextually. And Bitcoin is also repeating what it did last year. I mean, literally perfectly. So we've got the macro overlay. The Fed are going to keep cutting over time. The other central banks are going to be involved. We've got the seasonality in place. We've got the global liquidity cycle in place. I don't know what else is left. It's kind of like it has to be now. Even the chart patterns, usually you get 3 touches at the top, 3 touches at the bottom of a range. That usually works. So I think all of the elements are in play.
The crypto market is on the verge of a major breakout as the banana zone begins, according to Raoul Pal, a well-known macro analyst, crypto bull, and former Goldman Sachs executive. Pal specializes in analyzing how macroeconomic conditions affect global financial markets, with a particular focus on cryptocurrencies, where he has substantial investments. He believes that as central banks shift from tightening policies to easing measures, the stage is set for explosive growth in the crypto sector. Raoul predicts that global liquidity conditions will significantly improve as central banks move from raising rates to cutting them, along with implementing quantitative easing to prevent economic overheating. With the U.S. Federal Reserve already starting to cut rates, Pal anticipates a surge in Bitcoin and the broader crypto market. He believes these shifts in monetary policy will lead to a massive opportunity for digital assets, potentially unlocking a $100 trillion market in the coming years. In a recent Real Vision update, Pal shares his strategy for capitalizing on these favorable macroeconomic conditions. He discusses his investment approach and identifies cryptocurrencies beyond Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana that he expects to outperform. According to Pal, now is the time to position oneself to take full advantage of this impending crypto boom.
Stop. You don't have time. Don't miss out this 2025 bull run. Educate yourself first ahead of the crowd. We have created the ultimate step-by-step crypto cheat guide that will guide you this bull run. Unlock the secrets of crypto and make smarter investments today. Now by clicking on the link below to get your exclusive copy just under $10.
From everything I look at, this really is the zone. I mean, this is a killer. I mean, it's an absolute beautiful chart. It's the GMI Global Weekly Liquidity, so that's both private sector liquidity and public sector liquidity from the large global economies. I mean, it's just perfect. It leads by 10 weeks. M2 does pretty much a pretty similar job as well. So you've got that. You've got Bitcoin seasonality is always strong from this point onwards. I'm going to share another chart as well. Let's have a look at this one. And Bitcoin is also repeating what it did last year. I mean, literally perfectly. So we've got the macro overlay. The Fed are going to keep cutting over time. The other central banks are going to be involved. We've got the seasonality in place. We've got the global liquidity cycle in place. I don't know what else is left. It's kind of like it has to be now. Even the chart patterns, usually you get 3 touches at the top, 3 touches at the bottom of a range. That usually works. So I think all of the elements are in play. I think either way, whatever the outcome of the election, it goes up afterwards anyway. We've seen that in the past. But we saw the last time Trump was in, obviously, because Trump is very tax light, very stimulative, and he's very pro-crypto, so regulatory stuff, both for tech and for crypto, that you feel like that could be an extra juice if that were to happen. And 2016-17 was the last Trump cycle. We didn't have the Fed actually easing liquidity massively. They were just starting to raise rates and they stopped for 2016-17. And it was the Chinese who were creating the liquidity, and the market went, bananas-tastic in 2017. Let me give you a hopium chart. I just need to share a.
You'll need an Ethereum chart.
It's an Ethopium chart. That's ETH versus ETH last year. I can't find a closer fit. I can't. That's crazy. The other thing about the ETH Bitcoin cross is it's actually driven by the ISM and the business cycle. So you're kind of all in that point on a weekly, for those who like technicals, on a weekly DMARC count. ETH just put in a 13 low as well. It feels that everything is in place, but that chart is quite remarkable. Now, we know that these charts fall apart just when you want them the most to work, so expect it to not work, but it's just interesting contextually. I've got a very strong thesis on this, that as the market cap of crypto goes up over time from 2 trillion to where I think it's going, which is 100 trillion, you're going to generate more wealth than any other trade in all human history in the shortest period of time, and that gets recycled into art. And I started buying Xcopy really in January and have been buying all year. That triggered a whole bunch of people, and I've shared the thesis a lot with people that the really culturally relevant things will be highly sought after first, but I think it will broaden out again. Art doesn't go away, and so we've seen Punks, Xcopy, and there's very little Beeple for sale at all. So those are there. Yes, Fidenzas have come down in price, and yes, some of the others have come down in price. But I think we will see a rotation. It's kind of like, if you think of Xcopy and Beeple and Punks as Bitcoin, you get Bitcoin dominance first, and as the market broadens out, it moves to the other layer ones, layer twos, and other stuff. And I think we'll see the same here. I think we will see a big uptick in art as we start going through all-time highs, not only in Bitcoin, but in the other big one, which is Solana, because that's what people have got a lot of. We surveyed all of our hedge funds in Exponential Age Asset Management and XPAM, and the biggest trade is Solana. Just the disclaimer is I am on the board of the foundation, but I'm a mercenary when it comes to my own money, and I have for a while been thinking, all three of us have talked about this, is that this might be one of the chosen ones. And the reason being is that the team is world-class. They've built, scalable blockchains suitable for 3 billion people plus. I mean, these guys are world-class. They're a little bit technical. So the narrative was missing, but then started to come alive with narrative. But the reality is they've got the latency of the chain down to 600 milliseconds. It's stupid fast. They've now just building this walrus, which is a data storage layer, which is a separate token. But it's like basically AWS on top of, this whole move virtual machine idea. Then they've got Pilotfish coming, which is their version kind of a Fire Dancer, which gives it kind of unlimited TPS. And they've got a very serious biz dev team. Obviously, we've just got Circle, and there'll be, I'm sure, plenty of others, whether it's in gaming or real world assets and other stuff to come. So they're just capturing mind share. Now, don't forget, this is a low free float. And once you capture mind share in a low free float, it outperforms by definition, because there's less of it around. You can have the same mind share for ETH. It's not going to go, it's barely going to move. So I know people hate low free floats. You're going to love them in a bull market and hate them again in a bear market, because they're just super beta. So I think that's the point to realize. It's also super beta, capturing mind share. They seem to be executing well, and people are looking for the next big trade. Because as Ovi was talking about, people are kind of like, well, is the Solana trade over? What's the next big one? And so it feels like it's got everything right. I think I don't see what else is going to dominate. I look at the charts of SUI versus the top 20 tokens and a whole bunch of other stuff. I don't see anything that looks close to being able to compete with it for the time being. The only things coming are Monad and Berachain. Doesn't mean that Celestia and all this stuff doesn't go up a lot, but it's very difficult to see anything that's going to outperform that chart. The other one that's interesting, I just interviewed John Wu from Avalanche, and I caught up with Piers Kicks in Portugal when I was there. And I don't know, have you met Piers yet, Mando? You've got to meet him. He's such a great guy, good friend of mine, and he's the gaming guy at Delphi. And he talked about the investment he's made in Off the Grid. He's like, it is the best game I've ever seen in Web3, and it may be one of the best games I've ever played. That's on Avalanche. And I got John on because of what Piers said to talk about it. That's going to be really interesting because we've not had a proper breakout. This is a battle royale game, ultra high definition, super quality. If this takes off, okay, that's a big deal.
So, that's Raoul Pal's take on why he's confident that the shift in global liquidity conditions marks the beginning of the banana zone, a period where the crypto market could experience a major rally. With central banks transitioning from rate hikes to rate cuts and implementing new easing measures, Pal believes this could create an ideal environment for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and some lesser-known cryptos to potentially skyrocket in value. He views this as a $100 trillion opportunity over the coming years, which could reshape the entire digital asset landscape. But what do you think? Are we truly on the brink of a significant bull run, or could there still be more uncertainty and volatility ahead? Do you agree with Raoul's analysis, or are you approaching the market with more caution? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Raoul Pal's analysis and its implications for the future of crypto, make sure to stay tuned for more updates. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these two awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.